Welcome back to Screentop 101. I'm Jack Rosetree, and I'm going to talk about anchors in a moment. But first, I want to give you a quick shortcut. When you're editing, you can select an individual item, and you can press C to edit the component that is relevant to that item. You can press V to edit the variant that is relevant to that item, or you can hit O to edit that object in particular. So in this case, with O, I can see that this Q is now at the 2155 x-axis location and the negative 1543 y-axis location. I could set it to 0 and 0, and it will move it to the center of my play space. I could also change it to be locked. I could change the rotation manually if I wanted to. All of those nifty things are much quicker and easier to do if you're just using shortcuts. So again, it's C for components, V for variants, O for objects. Very easy to remember. Now on to anchors. And I saved anchors for last because they are mostly an aesthetic and quality of life improvement to your tabletop setup. For almost anything, a grid drop zone will be fine, but an anchor drop zone will give you a lot more control than the grid option. So if you remember, we've got this container over here, and at the moment it's got an indiscriminate grid. It will accept literally anything into this grid, and the things that you put are not put in any particular place on that grid other than where you drop it. So we're going to edit that component by hitting it and hitting C. We're going to go to drop zones. We're going to delete the grid, and we're going to add an anchor drop zone. And then in that anchor drop zone, we again can control specifically what it cares about. So in this case, we're going to say that it cares about the 4-letter word cards, which are these right here. And we're going to save that. And then we're going to go into anchors, and we're going to create a point anchor. And what this point anchor is it's just a single point on the drop zone where these cards can be placed. So when I drag a card over, if I drop it anywhere on this drop zone, it slides right into the middle and starts that point. If I remove them, I can add them as a stack. I can add them one at a time. Now, within that point, I can edit a few things. I can change it to minus 300, 300, and put the point in this corner, like so. I could shift it up to the opposite end and save it that way, and now the cards are going to move to the opposite side. I can set a capacity, so let's say we only ever want 5 cards to be in that anchor. I can add up to 5 cards, but the 6th card can't be added to that anchor. If I drop it, it will land on top of the drop zone, but it's not part of that drop zone. So if I pick up the drop zone and move it, it's not going to take that card with it. I can also set it to rotate the cards automatically. I can set a container to open or close, which is not something I generally mess with. And I can also set the cards to automatically be face up or face down. So if I've got a deck space, a lot of times I'll tell it automatically put the cards face down. If I've got a hand space, I'll tell it to automatically put the cards face up. So now as I add cards, they will flip over to their word side. When I add these cards back to the deck zone, which I have set to flip them face down, they will flip over, and now you can only see the back. All right. Now, the other possible anchor icon, anchor drop zone is a line. And this is really useful for stacking items in a row, splaying things out, hands of cards in particular. So let's remove these cards from here, and let's delete this dot. And let's set this this line to minus 160, minus 160. Let's just make it a little wider. And now we can add cards to this line. Now we can see that there are 3 cards here, but we can't see what's on these cards. So let's change this a little bit. Let's change this to, it's going to be in the center, and we'll go minus 400, center plus 400. And now we've got this tall line. And when these cards are stacked, they're going to stack vertically. Gap is going to allow us to increase the space between these cards. So let's say we want a 300 gap, And now we can actually see the words on the cards. Maybe I don't want that much of a gap. I'm okay with something smaller. I could say 250, and now the cards take up a little less space. Alignment is where within the line cards are going to align themselves. So right now it's in the center, so cards are just going to float in the center of the line. If I set it to start, it means that the cards are always going to be at the beginning of the line, and adding new cards, it will build out towards the end of the line. And then vice versa for the end of the line alignment. As you remove cards, you can see that now they're stacking towards the end of the line rather than the beginning. And again, we can set a capacity, rotate, set a container, and set the tile. So for instance, if this is a hand zone, a lot of times you'll set the capacity maybe to 7 cards, and you'll set them to face up, which means now if I don't have any cards in hand, I can double click this deck, I can shuffle it up, and if I drag it over and drop it in this zone, it takes exactly 7 cards and it flips them over as soon as they drop into the hand. So now I can see my cards, and I didn't take more cards than I was supposed to, and it returns whatever you didn't take back to the deck zone. Now this board in the center is very similarly structured. It's got 16 single capacity letter tile anchor points. So you can only ever add a single letter tile to a single spot. But if I collect all these tiles up and I shuffle them, and I do the same thing, it's going to randomly assign 1 tile to each of those anchor points. And then the remaining 3, which are not used, get bumped back to where they came from. That's pretty much it for anchors. Again, remember that you can have multiple anchor points. You can stack anchor points such that certain objects will appear above or below other objects consistently. That's a lot of stuff that you can just mess with on your own. But this was the last video in this series. If you've come along with me for the full ride, thank you. You know, it's happy to have you. I love Screentop as a tool. It's fantastic for prototyping. It's fantastic for playtesting. I really am eager to see more people take it on, both designers and players. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a comment or join the Screentop Discord, which has been super welcoming, super helpful. They're constantly working on new features. They're constantly dropping new stuff. And it's a great place to just find other people that are willing to help out whenever you run into a snag. But that's pretty much it for this series. I may drop some new stuff moving forward as new features are added. But for now, I just wanted this to be a really quick and easy and straightforward way to get you onboarded with Screentop so that you can get your games built and start playtesting. So thank you for coming. I'm Jack Rosetree. You can find me in various places, and have a wonderful day.